Right. Okay, are we live yet? Yes, we're live. Good morning, everybody. We have a great program for you today. We are going to be with Brother Asar and Sister Ma'at Tefnut is going to be doing all of the engineering for us today. Darrell is out. And we have a special guest, a very special guest. His name is Ramatek, and he's one of the students of the, what is the name of the community university that?
Holy House of Ra.
Holy House of Ra. So he's a brilliant brother, and I'm looking forward to hearing him. Just a special announcement, and we'll get on with the program. I'm dedicating this program to my grandson, Asar White. I was there when he was born, and I named him. And he asked me to tell him all about his name. So I'm going to ask Brother Patah to get into the name Asar, what it means. And I think it's good that we name our children after our ancestors and let them know why we have named them that. And they have a responsibility to fulfill their names in the sense that they need to learn about all of these African names. We don't just need to give them these Egyptian names and they don't know what they mean and they don't know the purpose for why we are naming them that. But we're taking back our language and we're, the consciousness. So I'm dedicating this program to my grandson, Asar White. So, Brother Patah, if you will bring your Hesse this morning, explain to him what the Hesse is, what we are doing, so he will understand. So I may slow you down a bit today because you go so fast, and I want the young man, remember, he ain't but 12 years old now. So I want him to know exactly what we're talking about and so forth and so on. So I'm going to keep you kind of slow, but good morning, everybody. Brother Patah.
Dua Usiba, Clemson Brown.
Yes.
It's an honor to be
Thank
back
you.
on your platform, Transatlantic Productions, Tapvideo, and we are honored and humbled to be back here again today. I have with us, we're joining with us today. We have our great Queen Mother Goddess, our most revered and honorable Queen Mother Goddess, Ma'at Tefnut, who will be taking over the duties of the God King in the background with the technical support, PowerPoint, and all that technical stuff, which I have not a clue about. And we also have a special guest for you today. We have invited my grand elder Siba, my student, elder teacher, Ramutep Kweb. He will perform his duties of cosmic time, and we have a special tribute for you. We're going to do a special reading for our great Siba, Clemson Brown. He's going to restore his day of birth, his star of his birth, and his cultural cosmic collective consciousness frequency to the universe. Ramutep will perform his astrological duties today. So I shall first ask for the great Queen Mother Goddess, Asma Tefnut, to perform her Hesse or Saku, her affirmation, to command the cosmic forces that allow us love, guidance, and protection through the daily experiences of wonderful matter, so that she may address the ancient ones, the ancestors, and the Quatnetarus, and the elders for permission to speak. And we say to you, O great Queen Mother Goddess, Asma Tefnut, Dua, Dua, Dua.
Dua, Dua, Wu. Hete Pu, Dua, Dua, Wu. a Nazareth Ramech, E.M. Hotep. Greetings and divine greatness, divine excellence to the first family. To my Nagas, Shamsa Haru, Nesubiti, Natarts, Sebas, and Sebats, the immortal ones of Ma'at cherished, of the phenomenon of precession, New Age order, great golden age of Ma'at Hapi Asar, and to all citizens, descendants of the Nile Valley Cultural Cosmic Collective Consciousness Spirituality. O Ra Nebertesha Ra, the she and he, the mother and father of all existence, the master and possessor of light and radiation, of heat and movement. We ask that you bless us humble servants for Ankh life being now present, for we seek the counsel of the ancient ones and practice daily the ancient Ma'atian ways and ancient Ma'atian truths. We strive evermore to become one with thee in this world and in the existence to come. We ask that you bless us on this, the 80th Haru after the helical rising, 280 Haru remaining until Uben Soptit, Soptit Cyrus rising, Upawat Samai Tawi, Wep Rinpet Dijiheb, 8th Haru, 3rd Abet of Sobek, 1st Haru of Quebsanef, 20th Haru, 3rd Abet, 1st season of Shamu, Rinpet, number 10, AFNK/ST, after founding of New Kemet, Naga Kemet, Samai Tawi, phenomenon of precession, New Age order, great golden age of Ma'at Hapi Asar. We ask that you bless our families and friends and all those of us who gather together to worship in your most holy, sacred, and glorious ancient Tamarian name of Ra Nebertesha Ra, for in the art of seeking you there is much comfort. So as it is spoken, so shall it be written, so let it be done, so shall it be, for now and forever forward. Panatara Pu Pamaat Ankwaz Dejed Ank Ujasineb Ubenefri Ker Panebu Haru Ma'ati, rising always in divine excellence with Ma'at all day, every day. Dua, Dua'u.
Pamaat, Queen Mother Goddess Asma, definitely. Your words are Macharu, you are true of voice, you are victorious and righteously great. You have commanded the cosmic forces that allow us love, guidance, and protection through the daily experiences of Ponzo matter. You have addressed the ancient ones, the ancestors, and the Panatharus, and the elders. And we say that that your words are splendid to the ears. And we say unto you, Dua, Dua, Dua.
Thank you.
And we shall now call upon our great Siva Ramutep Queb to perform his Hesi, his Saktu, his affirmation, so that he may address the ancestors and pronounce the Usamedu Nefe Heka'u to command the cosmic forces that allow us love, guidance, protection, and present himself before the ancient ones, the ancestors, and the Patnatarus, and the elders. Dua, 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 Ramutep Queb.
Ethiopian, Dua, Duao, and Nazarat, Ramech, Hotep. Greetings and divine greatness, divine excellency to the first families, my Nagas, Simsarus, Nesubitis, Hamets, Sibats, Mutatas, the mortal ones of my art chairs, phenomenal conversation, New Age order, great order, age of my art, PSR, and to all the citizens and descendants of the Nile Valley Cultural Collective Consciousness Spirituality. And Nazarak, O Asar, the mother of the Nethrus, the mistress of Pet, the maker of mankind, she who is mighty in Usamed in the fair, Kau, divine words of power, mother of all initiations. Blessed humble service for Ankh, life being, now present, for we seek the counsel of the ancient ones to practice daily the ancient Montean ways and ancient Montean truths. We strive evermore to become one with thee in this world and existence to come. We ask that you bless us on this, the 80th day of the year after the helical rising, 280 days remaining to Uban Soptit Cyrus rising, Upawat Samatawi, right at the head, New Year's celebration, the 8th day of the third month of Sobek, the first day of Questionum, the 20th day of the third month of the first season of Shimu, year number 10, AFNK/STA, the founding New Kemet, Naga Kemet, Samanta, we phenomenon Precession, New Age, Water, Great Golden Age, and my peace. We ask that you bless our families, our friends, and all those who gather together who worship in your glorious, ancient, Marian name of Asar, Panebu, When the art is seeking you, there is much comfort. So let it be spoken, let it be written, let it be done, so shall it be. For now and forever forward, Ra, number Teshara, Panata, Akupama Ak, Unk, once the jet, Unk, Johnson, who never care upon their bull, Huddle, Ma'ati, present always in divine excellence with my eye, all day, every day. Dua.
Thank you.
Dua. Your words are my true, are true voice. You are victorious, righteous, great. You have commanded the cosmic forces that allow us love, guidance, protection through the daily experiences of wonderful matter. You have addressed yourself before the ancestors and Ethiopians and the ancient ones and the elders, and we say unto you, Dua, around with your prayer. And so now I shall perform my Hesi, my Sakru, my affirmation, so that I may present myself before the ancestors, the ancient ones, and the Panatharus and the elders, by performing my Hesi, my Sakru, my affirmation, and commanding the cosmic forces that allow us love, guidance, protection through the daily experiences of wonderful matter. Before I begin, I would like to pay homage unto the great Queen Mother Goddesses and ask them for permission to speak. I shall ask the great Queen Mother Goddess, Queen Afur, for permission to speak. The great Queen Mother Goddess Soleil for permission to speak. The great Queen Mother Goddess Reketi Amen for permission to speak. The great Queen Mother Goddess Seshat Ma'at Heraru for permission to speak. The great Queen Mother Goddess Aset Mary Amen for permission to speak. I shall ask the elders for permission to speak. Our great Seba, Dr. Professor Leonard Jeffries for permission to speak. Professor J. Smalls for permission to speak. Our great Seba Samaj Patel for permission to speak. Our great Seba Suni Valentine, Baba Suni Valentine for permission to speak. And our great divine Seba Kabakamini and our Seba Elder Mepundishi Jehutimes for permission to speak. We ask all our ancestors for permission to speak, and I shall begin my Hesi. Hetepu, Dua, Dua, Anazarak Ramet, E.M. Hotep. Greetings and divine greatness, divine excellence to the first families of the New Age order. My Nagas, my Shemsarus, my Nesubitis, my Hemets, my Sibats, Mugatats, the immortal ones of Ma'at, cherished, phenomenon of precession, New Age order, great golden age of Ma'at, Asar, and all citizens, descendants of the Nile Valley cultural cosmic collective consciousness spirituality. O Ra Nebuchadnezzar, the he, the she, the mother and father of all existence, master and possessor of light and radiation, of heat and movement. Bless us humble servants for Ankh, life, being now present, for we seek the counsel of the ancient ones and practice daily the ancient Ma'atian ways and ancient Ma'atian truths. We strive evermore to become one with thee in this world and in the existence to come. We ask that you bless us on this, the 80th day of the year after the heliacal rising. 280 days remaining until Ubin Suptit Cyrus rising, Upuat, Samatawi, Wetren Pet Digit New Year's celebration. The 8th day of the 3rd month of Sobek, the 1st day of Quebsonuk, the 20th day of the 3rd month of the 1st season of Shemu, year Renpet year number 10, AFNK/ST, after the founding of New Kemet, Naga Kemet, Samatawi, phenomenon Precession, New Age order, the Great Golden Age, and Mata Asar. We ask that you bless our families and friends and all those of us who gather together to worship in your most holy, sacred, and glorious ancient Tamarian name of Ra Nebuchadnezzar, for in the act of seeking you, there is much comfort. So as it is spoken, so let it be written, so let it be done, so shall it be from now and forever forward. Ra Nebuchadnezzar, Panata Apupa Ma'at, Ankwas Dejet, Ankuja Seneb, Uba Nepike Paneburu Ma'ati, rising always in divine excellence with Ma'at every day, all day. Dua. So what we do today is we perform these Hesses as the first frequency specifically. This is our divine birthright through primordial temple discipline. We have to triangulate at all times. We have to have our sacred science, our divine math, our cultural cosmic collective conscious spirituality with our astrology and astronomy, adding with the Medunetha to create the proper resonance, and we perform and issue forth this frequency. This frequency is not spookism. This is our cultural, cosmic, collective conscious spirituality. In order to address these our ancestors and the ancient ones, we must address ourselves to the cosmic forces, which are matter, solids, liquids, and gases, the elements, nature, the sun, the air, the earth, the water. We have to triangulate ourselves with the moon and the star Septet, with the sun, with the Orion's constellation, with the constellation of Pleiades, and we frequentize ourselves to our quadrant of the Milky Way galaxy so that we may harmonicize ourselves to the universe. So today we have a special show for you today. Again, we dedicate today's show to our great Siva Clemson Brown grandson. His name is Asar White, and we shall break down the word of Asar as we go along. We'll make sure Asar is broken down within this narrative. And the title of the show today is Ancient African Cultural Cosmic Collective Consciousness, Spirituality, Space, and Time. So we're going to combine astrology with the astronomy with the astrology to give us absolute accountability and style validation. And Ramutep Queb will be coming on after the presentation to decipher our great Siva Clemson Brown's day of his real birth and the star of his birth and his real sign, because it's all been changed. Everything has been corrupted, plagiarized. It's been manipulated and fed back to you in an unholy manner. So we're here to bring balance to the scale. And like what I first like to say for everyone also is that I'm dedicating this part of the show of the Naga Ship Association and the Nagatian Institute of Cosmic Awareness, Spiritual Consciousness, and Universal Enlightenment to our great transition Siva Eddie Kafra of the White and Gold Lotus Temple, Shrine of Amen Ra. And we shall begin this dedication with his poems, some of his favorite poems. So one thing I first want to say to everybody is take down the Gregorian calendar from your wall. Take down the Gregorian calendar from your wall and stop being Hellenized and lobotomized. So the first poem we shall recite is, before the Romans and the Greeks, there were 9 days in every week, and time was kept by charting stars that were visible on our calendar. Aware of the movement of the earth, stars, and moon, these ancient African indigenous primordial ancestral peoples were cosmically attuned. Dua, dua. And our next poem we shall recite is, oh, let not the flames die out. Cherished age after golden great age in the sacred caverns and holy temples, cherished. Fed by the pure Nagas, Shemsurus, Nasubitis, Hemet, Sibats, Natats, the immortal ones of Ma'at, cherished. Oh, let not the flames die out. And our next poem we shall recite, Anuk Heru, Anuk Heru. I am Heru, I am Heru. I give you my wings so that you may fly. I give you my eyes so that you will never die. Oh, you divine Nagas, Shemsurus, Nasubitis, Hemet, Sibats, Natats, the immortal ones of Ma'at, cherished. Gather, gather, come hither, come thither. Rally unto me, and I will lead you to the true righteous Ma'atian path of immortality. Follow the movement of the stars, Septet, Cyrus, and Ra, and you will find yourself in a perfect state of space and time. Acknowledge the divine cosmic environment that you are seeing, and you will desire to acquire the ability to experience the phenomenon of being. Dua, dua. And our next poem we shall recite is from Dr. Ben, from the Papyrus of Hunefa. He says, I come forth from the beginning of the now, wherein dwells the great divine Nefer Necher Hapi at the foothills of the mountain of the moon. Dua, dua. And our next poem we shall recite comes from the pyramid text of Unas. It is part of the prophecies of the return of our ancestors to glory and dominion over this planet and to be the universal monarchs. And it begins, the prophecy states that we will be sent something from the past to join with something from the future. something from the physical world to join with the spiritual world. The Samatawi, union of both the past and future, the material and spiritual world will be contained in the revelations of a secret mystical diagram called the Ipeteru Shavit Templuaru Pamaat to ensure your divine birthright and to facilitate your journey, voyage, quest to of immortality, to be reborn, Ranu as a star, expanding with the universe. And our final poem will be, do you know what it feels like to be an uncrowned Nasut, Hemet, king and queen, lacking honor, a crown, a throne, a Merku, a solar silver lunar calendar, and just about everything? Well, let me tell you of our story, of our most earliest ancient African indigenous primordial ancestors in their glory. Those of us who were born from the great line of Nasuts and Hemets, kings and queens. Those of us who were born from the great line of Nasuts and Hemets, kings and queens. From diamonds and pearls and emeralds and all sorts of precious things, everyday trinkets for those of us who were born from the great line of Nasuts and Hemets, kings and queens. Everyday trinkets for those of us who were born from the great line of Nasuts and Hemets, kings and queens. But without your past, you can only live life in half. Half man, half woman, half beast, half slave. And this trend of thought is all that you have sought, all that you have bought without knowledge of yesterday, without knowledge of yesterday. Dua. I send it back to you, Sheba Clemson Brown, for an update for what you want us to do.
Unmute your mic, Minister Clemson Brown. Dua.
Unmute your mic.
Here we go. All right. What about now? Can you hear me?
Yes, Minister.
Thank you. Okay, today I'd like for us to look at how do we come across, I know how we come across the 26,000 years and the calendars, but I want us to go through that in a way that we can understand where we get the 26,000 years and how it applies to astrology, in that it's divided, I think, into 12 houses, so forth, and what that means in relationship to this period of time, because we're in the time of Cetus, and Cetus is the rise of the Ethiopian king. And in ancient times, the Greeks made reference to all Africans as Ethiopians, and they said the Africans were so just and balanced and righteous that even the gods fell among them. So they didn't see Black people as criminals, and any of the names that are associated with us today in terms of some kind of criminality being out of balance with the universe. They saw us as one with the universe and as perfect beings, so much so that the gods dwell among us, which is, they saw us as gods. So I'd like for us to look at the way the Greeks saw us, talk about that, and how that's reflected in the 26,000 year calendar that our ancient ancestors left to guide us, as they told the time, on the cyclical movement of time and space and what that means to us today and what we should be about. So, Brother Asar, that's your and remember, I may cut you off because I would, and just to slow you down so that this knowledge is new to a lot of people. They're just getting into it, and they need to understand it. And so, it's your job.
Do it.
But don't forget about my grandson Asar. He wants to know how all this relates to him.
Absolutely.
Brother Asar.
Do I absolutely. I first asked the Queen Mother Goddess to give me permission to speak because I jumped the gun on that one. So I shall call upon Asma Tefnut to stop me off.
Dua Usiba, the Ta Secret Star. Your words are Macharu, true of voice. You have commanded the cosmic forces that allows you love, guidance, and protection through the daily experiences of ponderable matter. Your words are victorious and righteously great and splendor to the ears of the ancient ones, the Platnecharus and the ancestors. Dua Usiba.
Dua Banata Pamaran Costa General Kujas Nebu Nebu Ati. That's the last time I'm gonna speed up. I'm gonna slow down now, Siba.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, okay. So I like to see the first schematic. We like to break down the ancient Asarian Kemetic solar lunar calendar and calendar itself and how time was processed through our ancient African cultural spirituality. So we're going to break up these schematics for the scholars so that we can show tangible evidence for this process, and which is your divine birthright. So what this is here, this is called, as we know it today, this is called an Ipet Heru or a Shabit Tuaru Pamad. Ipet means to measure, and Meduneta Heru means the day. And we also call it a Shabit Tuaru Pamaat. Shabit is the shadow, and the Twa, Shabit Twa is the star, and Heru is day, and Pamaat means according to the doctrines of Ma'at. So these are two ways of expressing a calendar. Okay, so we wanted to put the second aspect in of the Shabit, because this way you get to understand that the shadow is only created by the light. And when the light shines upon its radiance upon anything that has material or solids, liquids, and gases, any type of matter, it will cast a shadow. And that shadow, if the light is atomic energy, then the shadow must become subatomic energy. Now you're able to perceive esoterically that which was once incomprehensible is now revealed by simply applying the metaphysical cosmic principles of our ancient African indigenous primordial ancestral cultural spirituality. And within this cultural spirituality, we had the sacred science, the divine mathematics, and astrology and astronomy with the Meduneta. So we will have absolute accountability and star validation, because this is a special program we're going to do today. And we want everybody to know that Ramutep Kweb is going to break down the astrological aspects in a second. Right now, we're going to break it down for you so that everybody can understand how to tell time and how the ancestors told time for us through ponderable matter. So first, you must understand that the earth, what is time? As we get ready to throw up these schematics, you have to understand what time is. So time is the movement or measurement of the light through the void of deep dark cold space from one point or distance to another. Its speed is 98,000 miles per second. Light is the absence of darkness. Darkness is the absence of light. Light is the giver of Ankh, life, being, to all things on the terrestrial plane within the atomic domain. Ankh, life, is the consciousness or awareness of being. Ankh, life, is the generic expression of the light that is only found in three forms exclusively: solids, liquids, and gases. Matter, the elements, nature, the Patnatarus. However, light, atomic energy, Kepra, the outer verse, is not the Zeptepi. It is not the first time. It is not the origins of existence and the creation and development of the universe. The light has a mirrored reflection. And that mirrored reflection, as we had just mentioned, is radiation. Radiation is subatomic. Radiation becomes the primordial mound. Radiation becomes the cosmic egg. And cultural cosmic collective conscious spirituality, radiation becomes Ra, never tested. So let us first break down the science of time. We have three motions of the earth. We're going to show these schematics of the three motions of the earth. First motion of the earth is that it rotates on its axis. They teach you this in school. You're going to know what I'm talking about until we get to the phenomenon of precession. This is where they stop teaching you about correct time and cosmic time. They're teaching you fraudulent Gregorian chronological timeline. So we're going to have to show you how to differentiate from cosmic time to fraudulent time. The Gregorian calendar is fraudulent time. So the first movement of the earth, motions of the earth, there's three motions. The first is it rotates on its axis. And originally, in the first calendar of our ancestors is a solar calendar that rotated on its axis 24 hours and 35 minutes. It was 35 extra minutes in every day, because that 35 minutes was split between the Duat and the Tuat. And on that cycle, the second movement of the earth is revolving around the sun, which is 360 days under a 24-hour and 35-minute orbit. And the third motion is the earth is tilted 23.5 degrees from vertical, which creates a wobble. And this wobble is called the precession of equinox, and we call it the phenomenon of precession. This means the sun has to pass through each and every sign of the precession, which they call a zodiac, which has 12 signs. Of course, zodiac in Latin means zoo. So we hate to use these Greek Roman words, but we're going to try to present this narration for the layman's terms. So we're going to use layman terms, so we might use some Hellenistic terms here. So now, the first motion of the earth under the second calendar, which is the Jehushan calendar, because this is a 3-in-1 calendar. We have a solar calendar, a sidereal calendar, and a lunar cycle calendar. Okay, so the second calendar aspects of motions of the three motions of the earth, it rotates on its axis 24 hours in every day, like it does today. Every day is 24 hours in a day. That means as it revolves around the sun, there's 365.25 days, just like it is today, as we know it under the Gregorian system. And then, of course, the earth is tilted 23.5 degrees from vertical, and which creates the wobble, and that's the 26,000 years. And now we're going to break this down into increments so that we could get to understand we're using our sacred science, our divine math, and our cultural cosmic collective conscious spirituality. Can you show us the other schematic of the one that I gave you this morning, of the new one improved, that has the astrological and astronomical configurations in the schematic? And so we begin this one here. Okay, we're going to present this. This is the new schematic for the Ipeteru Shabitem Tuaru Pamaat. We're presenting it today to the Ramets, to the family. We're going to present the mathematical equations to the Ramets, to the family, and sacred science to the Ramets, the family, and the cultural cosmic conscious spirituality to the Ramets and the family, because the Kemetic community seems to be stuck on this Kemetic calendar that has only 10 days in a week, 3 weeks in a month, and 30 days in every month. And if it has 30 days, it's a mathematical equation. All calendars on this planet today have 30 days in a month, which means it's an agricultural calendar. So you can feed the people with it. Okay. Now within our Ipeteru Shabitem Tuaru Pamaat, we have that 12-month. There it is there, the 12-month calendar, except Aket is not the first month, because they see the corruption. You have to be able to recognize the corruption when you see the corruption. So Aket appears to be the first month, but when you correlate it to the Gregorian calendar, they got it in January. So they still got you lined up on January in the Northern Hemisphere. And January is the first month only because the Roman Senate took office in January. And astrologically, the constellation of Pleiades at 12 o'clock on January 1st is at Midhaven. It's right above your head. So the Romans used the Pleiades constellation and the fact that the Roman Senate the consulars took office on January 1st as the reason why January 1st is the New Year. January 1st is not New Year. So it's that schematic once again, Queen Mother Goddess. Asma Tefnu, please. So that everybody can understand it, so we can move forward into our cosmic, into our story. Let's get back. So Shemu is really the first month because Shemu and Medunetta is the water that's called inundation and the receding. So there's 3 months. Each month has 3 seasons. Each season has 4 months. Each month has 30 days. 34 times is 120, and 120, 120, 120 comes out to 360 days. And then at the end, they add this wet Renpet day, where wet Renpet means, wet means first, but Renpet means New Year's. And they have 5 days over. So they have an extra month with just 5 days in it, which is an intercalendary month. That they had to find something to do with these extra 5 days. Our ancestors had no part with that. These extra 5 days are the days that the earth natures were born. But they had not existed in the first Ipeteru because the rotation of the earth is 24 hours and 35 minutes, which means that the earth's rotation around the revolution around the sun is 360 days. So now, so we didn't need this extra 5 days. And then when Jehuti wagered with Ra, because Seb and Nut wanted to have children, and they allowed them, and Jehuti played with the numbers, so that he played with the 35 minutes that's left over in every day. Next schematic, please, to the Mut and Seb. Nut, the sky, and Seb, the earth. That schematic, please. So when the earth natures, one of these two natures is earth, is the sky and the earth, and they wanted to have children. So when you look at this schematic method, you're looking at it through a cultural, cosmic, collective conscious spirituality, or through the lenses of an African melanated person. You see mathematics there. You see science there. You see a cultural, cosmic, collective conscious spirituality there. You see a mathematical equation there. You don't just see a beautiful picture. We see things with our third eye. So this represents that when there's nobody separating Newton Seb, that means that somebody, that means that they were allowed permission to have children. And when this was done is when they gave birth to the 5 earth natures. Their names are Heruer, Asar, as we have dedicated this show to Seba's Clemson Brown's grandson, Asar White. Asar was the second born of the womb of Nut and begotten of Seb. And the third was Sut or Set. The fourth was As, and the fifth was Nebhet. So this becomes applicable in our cultural, cosmic, collective conscious spirituality because we know that there's 360 days in a year. But now there's 24 hours in every day. So when you see this picture of Nut and Seb with somebody separating them, that means that the days in the calendar are only 360 days long, and each day is 24 hours and 35 minutes. But when you see the other schematic, you know that it becomes a sidereal calendar because now the earth children were born, who are the first ancestors. So at this time, we have to recognize.
Brother Patah, can I ask you if you could you give us the cosmology? You're showing us Nut and Geb, but in between Nut and Geb was Shu. The Africans had a very unique way of bringing this understanding of the universe into a
yes.
Yeah, can you kind of go that when you have Ptah coming out of the waters of non-spirituality and how all of that develops
Absolutely.
in terms of the children of earth and the fabric, etc. So I didn't mean to interrupt you, but
no, absolutely,
because it helps us to understand it again. It's almost like how the universe was created.
Absolutely. We're going to go right into the Zeptepe. I want to lay down a foundation of what time was, how the earth moves on the 3 motions, which relates from daily time, yearly time, and great year time. Now, how we connect this mathematical divine equation to our cultural, cosmic, collective conscious spirituality and with the science, because remember, we're always connecting the cultural spirituality. We're triangulating. We're like the electron at all times. This is the cosmic thought. This is the cosmic revelation. This is the star gospel. This is our story of the star gospel of self-creation of Ra Nefer Teshuvah. So on the mathematical equation, you know, there's 360 days in a year, or there's 365 and a quarter days in a year. How we differentiate between the two is that on July 20th on the Gregorian calendar is indicative to the rising of the star Septet and Ra, called helical rising at on the Nilotic meridian. And upon there's a Medunetta for the star Septet. And when this occurs on the 20th of July on the Gregorian calendar, it's an indication that our Earth, that's another way of expressing it, Medunetta. We're gonna go through that. And we know that the Earth has made one complete revolution around the sun. So at this particular time is when we apply our cultural, cosmic, collective conscious spirituality to relate it into the flavor of spirit and first frequency. So on July 20th on the Gregorian calendar is the birthday of Heru Earth. Because this is how we got the 365 days, because the Earth children were born. But at the beginning, there was only 360 days because it was 24 hours and 35 minutes in every Earth cycle. And Ra wouldn't let no children be born because time has been allotted for. That's why we showed you the picture of somebody separating Newt and somebody not separating Newt, so you can differentiate and applicate the mathematical equation. So at this time, on July 25th, in reference to the Gregorian calendar, playing this and applicated in layman's term, on this day, the first of the Earth natures are born of the womb of Newt, begotten of Seb. Their name is Heru. We celebrate Heru's birthday. And the next day, we celebrate the birthday of Asar. The next day, we celebrate the birthday of Sut, or Set. And the next day, we celebrate the birthday of Astas, the 23rd of July. And on the 24th of July, we celebrate the birthday of Nebhet. And on the next day, at sunrise, the star rises with the sun. It's called the helical rising. And this is an indication that by our ancestors knowing mathematically and scientifically that the Earth has made one complete revolution of the sun. We added in the Neteru's birthdays because now we know that Asar and As gave birth to Heru, and Heru gave birth to the Shemsu Herus, which are Mesta, Hapi, Tuamutep, and Quebsina. So what we do is, this is how you break down the Ankh. This is how we place the Ankh into practical application. The Ankh does not mean life. In scholarship, Ankh means life. But in our cultural, cosmic, collective, conscious spirituality, it doesn't mean life. It means being, to acquire the ability to experience the phenomenon of being. So we break this down through our cultural, cosmic, collective, conscious spirituality. From the bottom of the stem, we come from the Shemsu Herus, who came from Heru and Het Heru, Heru was born from Asar and Ast, who was born from Seb and Newt. And Seb and Newt, now that's the top of the stem. And Seb and Newt was born from Shu and Tepnut. And Shu and Tepnut was born from the direct issue of Ra Nebuchadnezzar. So this is how we relate the Ankh to our cultural, cosmic, collective, conscious spirituality. Now we related to it scientifically. We know that the creator came out of the primeval ocean of nothingness, which we call Noon. And if we was to describe nothingness numerically, we would have to use a circle for nothing, because she came out of the primeval ocean of nothingness. But we know this through our cultural, cosmic, collective, conscious spirituality, that to have nothing mathematically, actually you have everything, because everything that is, was, and shall be is contained within this ocean of nothingness. So it is a primeval ocean of nothingness. So when the creator came out of this nothingness, we know that energy that is collected, absorbed, and then stored must be released. And we know that motion is a requirement in the separating of the collective energy contained within a motionless cold void, such as Nu, the primary ocean of nothingness, dark energy, oblivion, or the cosmological constant. Exactly, the first law of existence. Now you learn the first law of existence. The first law of existence is that energy must be spent. And then you will learn that the first law of energy is to always exist and expand. So here we go, back to the Ankh again. The creator, after releasing, discharging, freeing himself, herself from oblivion, became a source of power. But because this power was dissipating, form and shape was necessary for containment. And the feeling of weightlessness then must be overcome by the controlled emissions of rays and waves of magnetic subatomic particles in all directions. After taking shape, these two basic needs were met. This is the origins of subatomic space. This is our story of the self-creation of Ra Nebuchadnezzar. Oh, well, I'm just bringing you to the science first. Now we're going to bring you into the mathematics. The sacred math is Ra Nebuchadnezzar had to take four attributes of manifestation. And within these four forms of attributes of manifestation, the creator became Temu. This is in the Shabaka stone. This is in the Kemenu. This is in the pyramid text. It's in the Mastaba text. It's on the Coffin text. It's in the cosmology of Anu, cosmology Heliopolis, and it's in all of the cosmological texts. This is the primordial essence of translation. And so the creator had to become Temu. Temu means to think in Medunetta. Temu means thought. Temu means to plan. Temu means mentalism. And we equate that scientifically to electromagnetism. Remember, there's no science without mathematics, no mathematics without science, and we need our cultural concept, spirituality from all within the all of alls. And then we both have astrology and astronomy to have absolute accountability and style validation. So there on the top left side of that schematic, you see Temu. And on the bottom right, the creator became Ptah. Ptah opened the door because the creator had to pronounce his Usam, imagine the fear, his and her name is a word of power. Ptah becomes the second attribute of manifestation on this Ankh. We're dealing with the four attributes of manifestation and the four primordial field forces: electromagnetism, weak force, strong force, and gravity. This gives us absolute accountability and style validation. Again, this is the RSGUT, the Asarian star grand theorem. So now the Ankh now means being, because the creator had to acquire the ability to experience the phenomenon of being. So first, she had to release himself. Then she had to seek out their self. Then she had to overcome the sensation of weightlessness, and then had to embrace Ma'at within their self. Then they acquired the ability to experience the phenomenon of being. So as the creator spoke his name as a word of power, he came out as the door, and the creator found no place upon which to stand. Now enters gravity. Out enters Amen, top right. Top upper right is Amen. Amen is the third attribute of manifestation of Radha Teshuvah, and Amen becomes the hidden one in Medunetta, he or she who is hidden. And Amen becomes the primordial mound in science, or the cosmic egg itself. In other words, the creator had to overcome the sensation of weightlessness. We're talking about defining gravity here right now on Clemson Brown's Transatlantic Production and Tapvideo. We are breaking down the RSGUT, the Asarian star grand unification theorem, and how it applies scientifically, mathematically with our cultural, cosmic, spirituality. So the fourth attribute of manifestation becomes Kepra. Kepra is the beetle with the sun disk on his head, representing atomic energy or the expanding universe, dark body radiation, black holes in the universe. And Kepra becomes the weak force, and Kepra in Medunetta means to evolve, he or she who evolves, the evolve of evolution. So now we're breaking this down backwards from the outer verse, from the inner verse to the outer verse, back to our part of the Milky Way galaxy. We come back down to our planet, which is the third from the sun, and we begin to address these niches in a cultural, cosmic, collective conscious spirituality way. But I did all this right now also to pay tribute to Asar Brown, to give him some of the flavor of our cultural spirituality and definitions of defining our creation's legend. But I wanted right now to let everybody know that because we're under this Gregorian chronological timeline, that they stole our time. They stole your birthday. They stole the star of your birth, because magnetic north has shifted. Vertical north, which the earth tilts 23.5 degrees, it makes the earth wobble, but you still have magnetic north. And magnetic north in the last 4,000 years has been shifted. So you go outside today thinking that you're a Virgo, and you look in the sky, the constellation of Leo's in the sky. So how can you be Virgo? The whole constellation precess 1 degree in the sky. So what we're going to do, we're going to bring Ramotep Pueblo in a minute, but first let me just let you know that what they did with the Gregorian calendar is one unearned day is added every 130 years, which is why they have calendar reform. And the Gregorian calendar is a perpetual calendar. Ours is perennial. Perennial is another Latin word that just means fixed. It's station. The Gregorian calendar is perpetual, meaning that January 1st is on a Monday, hypothetically speaking, 2020, 2021 is on a Tuesday, 2022 is on a Wednesday, 2023 is on a Thursday, and then they got a leap year, so it jumps to Saturday. And after 7 years, the star that was in the sky at your birth is no longer in the sky at your birthday. So they stole your birthday. They stole your children's birthday. They stole everything from you at your birth, and you didn't even know it. So with
Let,
great pleasure.
Asad, Patah, let me just ask you another question. What I'm trying to do as we go along is clear up a lot of misconceptions that people have about what they call African religion. And they say that Africans believed in many gods, but we're not talking about gods.
Right.
We're talking about nature and netters in which our ancestors understood the cosmology of continuous time from infinity to infinity. So it wasn't many gods, but they gave us a cosmology where we could understand the creative forces of nature, how they came together to even bring about human beings. Had nothing to do with religion at all. It's science and it's mathematics and it's continuity of the expression of the energy in which the creator vibrates the whole cycle of being for everything on the planet and in the universe. And our ancestors had the perception to measure. That's why we call this time and space from a perspective of African culture, looking at how that time and space comes about through the Africans studying the movement of the universe itself. I mean, and understanding and seeing the cycles as they come about, and had the perception to impart this consciousness through demonstrating it as a cosmic how do I say manifestation, that you could get an understanding of how the whole universe itself is brought into being. But you know, for me, this is these are stories, but they are stories that are embedded in the reality of the movement of time and space, and they are so accurate that the Africans had the ability to see this movement and understand its relationship to yes, the relationship of this movement in our actual lives, and that is real. That's the real understanding of how things come about in a way that we can understand that cosmology, and Europeans don't even begin to come into being until what, about 7,000 years ago. Maybe you can kind of connect all this. So when they come into being, the 26,000 year calendar is already into Pisces, I believe. But they don't even why they try to bring everything back to the time that they came into ancient Africa. They try to start time. That's why you got what they call AC and BC. But you know, they say we living in the year of 2020, but that's they're counting the time in which they brought about a certain control over African people through the Romans, and were able to learn from the Egyptians and transfer that knowledge and claim it as Western civilization and put their tag on it. Now, I'm throwing all this out to you, Brother Patah, and you kind of sift it and and give us some understanding of what I tried to say.
Oh, you got that's beautiful. That was beautiful. Dua, dua, dua. So to make it more, to put it into context, you have to understand that we was first ruled in our spirituality, cultural, cosmic, conscious spirituality, in our spirituality system. We was first ruled by the Neterus, which are the gods and goddesses themselves, which were the first 5 children of Newton Seth. And then we're ruled by the Shemsu Herus. And the Shemsurus were ruling side by side with the Shemsu sets, because that's all there is today. You're either a Shemsuru or a Shemsu set. But as we continue to go on, we learn how our ancestors were able to applicate this time mathematically and scientifically in their and these geodites that they were used, these ancient megalithic architectural monuments, which had the polymer and polygonal Mason architecture, in which were orientated to the spring equinox and to the constellations which rise in them great ages. So there are plenty of examples of this. We are now, let everybody know, we are now fully into the great golden age of Ma'at Hapi Asar, or as you may know, Aquarius. How do we know this? We know this because on March 21st, on the fraudulent Gregorian calendar on the spring equinox, I use the spring equinox as terms, but simply when day and night is equal length, to take out history out the picture. But just for a reference point for your scholastic understanding, on March 21st, on the morning of the spring equinox, when the sun rises, whatever constellation is in the sky, can you show us that schematic, please, Queen Mother Goddess? Whatever constellation is in the sky on March 21st on the spring equinox is where we're located on the galactic elliptic plane of our quadrant of the Milky Way galaxy, which simply means that when you look at the Milky Way galaxy from an aerial view, looking down, it looks like a hurricane. But when you look at it from a side view, it's nothing but a line with a glow at the top. This is the spring equinox here. On March 21st on the fraudulent Gregorian chronological timeline, when day and night is equal. And if you look to the middle, that's Ra. And there's a line going up to the right-hand side. That is the ecliptic plane. That is which the signs travel down on this ecliptic plane. So at the bottom where the sun is, where that black horizon is, underneath that is the constellation of Pisces. It is no longer visible on March 21st, and it will not be visible for another 24,000 years. Now, what we see up here to the right, you see that line, and there you see the constellation of Aquarius, which means that where she has a cursor at. Aquarius is now going to be there for 2,160 years, whether you're here or not. Okay? It's a 2,160 year, 12 times it's 24, plus 1 is 25. It comes out to 26,000 years for the phenomenal precession. So that's how we knew scientifically and mathematically with absolute accountability and star validation. This is called the helical rising. When this constellation, that's Sirius at the bottom, and you see the sun rising with it, that's the dawn. That means the helical rising is occurring, meaning that our Earth has made one complete revolution of the sun. So this is how the scientifically we was able to relate these stars with the mathematics and the science of our movement and rotation and our equation around our Milky Way galaxy, expanding of our universe and our connection to the whole universe. Now, right there, you see the schematic of the Mercury. Please hold it right there, please. The southern star shaft, which is the one on the left, points to the constellation of the top part points to the constellation of Orion, and the bottom one points to Sirius. This happened 6,000 years ago in the great golden age of Pisces, and it is on September the 15th. So 6,000 years ago, September 15th was the Ren Pet. And so when you look at the word Ren Pet, it says Ren means name and Pet means sky. So how does Ren Pet mean New Year's? So for you to understand that, you'd have to take the Medunetta and turn it around. You take Ren and turn it around, you got Ner. Ner means energy. You turn Ner around, it means name. Ren means name, Ren Pet. And Pet means sky. And if you turn sky around backwards, you got Tep. And Tep means time. Leave it there, right there. Good, right there, Queen Mother. So when you add time and energy and name and sky, now it begins to make sense if you're able to applicate it within the concept of self-creation. Now, as you look to the right side, you see the northern star shaft, which points to the circumpolar stars. It points to the circumpolar stars of Tawawurt or Apep. And Tawawurt Medunetta means she who is great in the northern sky, meaning she who is great on the top of the earth, meaning the northern sky, which are the circumpolar stars. And it is hidden here that we find Cepheus, in which the great Seba Clemson Brown talks about this great star that heralds in the new issuing of the remembering and the resurrection of the African man and woman who rules this planet again, was heralded by this star, Cepheus. And Cepheus is one of the four circumpolar stars. You got Polaris, Theban, Draco, and Vega. So Cepheus has to be one of these constellations which has been corrupted. It's been plagiarized, fractured, and fed back to us in an unholy manner as history. They simply changed the words around. We're breaking down the etymology right now to find out which one is Cepheus. It has to be the closest one to where we're at now, because this is the time when we're going to inherit this planet again. So that's not going to be hard to identify. Right, you see there is our sun moving through the center of the Milky Way galaxy, past the constellation of Leo or Sekhmet or Herukuti on the right, down to the left next to Cancer, which is Kepra, which represents the dawning of the new age order of the new age order Manapi Asar, or the opening of the golden lotus, as we're living through two great ages. And is at this point, mathematically and scientifically, and with our astrology and astronomy, we can predict and know exactly when this occurrence is going to transition or transpire. So please hit the next slide. Let's move forward with so here we are here. This movement here is we're looking sideways. You see the black hole, you see the big glow at the top on the left and the glow at the bottom. That line is called the ecliptic line. It's called the galactic plane. We call it the ecliptic plane. And the ecliptic plane means right there means that the sun moves 15 degrees up, hits the line, comes down, hits the line, goes 15 degrees down, comes up, hits the line, goes up 15 degrees. This is how our sun moves through the Milky Way galaxy as it passes through each and every sign around this galactic alignment, so that you can begin to appreciate the movement. Now, this is the constellation of Leo, which is Herukuti or Sekhmet, and this goes back 12,500 years. How do we do that? Now, how do they do that? The Gregorian chronological timeline says that history is only 5,000 years old, but yet they're trying to tell you that the Sphinx is less than 5,000 years old. But we already know through paleoclimatology and the water erosion within the Sphinx enclosure that precipitation is not falling on these stones since the Ice Age. So we know that what they're telling us is all lies. So how do we prove it? We use the Neteruological style timeline, which is the legend. And if you know how to count, you know there's 26,000 years in the phenomenon of precession, or the precession of equinox. Each sign, each age is 2,160 years. So now we count back Pisces, which is Uncle Set, 2,160 years. We count backwards to Aries, which is Amen, 2,160 years. We count back to Aries. Then we go to Taurus, 2,160 years. We're at the 6,000 years already. We've already passed recording history, and we're still going backwards. We go back to Gemini, 2,161 years. We go back to we need the schematic. We go back to, we need the other schematic to be more precise because it has the digital reading on it. And it goes back 2,160 more years to Cancer, which is Kepra. And now we land on the constellation of Leo, which is Sekhmet or Herukuti in its masculine and feminine form. Can you blow that up a little bit, Queen Mother, so they can see it, please? And we see that the constellation of Leo appears in front of Herukuti or the Sphinx 10,500 years ago or 12,000 years ago. So we're already moving through time through this Neteruological style timeline. See, they have a chronological timeline. We have a Neteruological style timeline. Neteru means the means nature, means the elements, means the gods and goddesses. And it's the Part Neterus, the great company of gods and goddesses. And as we're moving through this cycle, we can count back to 12,000 years backwards, but we know that the Leo, the monument of the Sphinx or Herukuti, was looking at his own image on the spring equinox 12,000 years ago. But we know through paleoclimatology that 12,000 years ago was an ice age. So the Sphinx or Herukuti or Sekhmet could not have been built 12,000 years ago, because the Sphinx enclosure underneath, down below the Giza Plateau from the pyramids where the Sphinx enclosure is, where the water erosion has occurred, we know that the ice caps were melted and the sea level had rose up. So the Herukuti or the Sphinx was filled up to his neck with water. We know this through paleoclimatology, if you want to do your own research. So we know that as the ice age melted, that the Sphinx was filled up to his neck. So we know we have to go back around the phenomenon of precession 26,000 years, then add 12 more thousand that we just did, go count it backwards, and we know that that's 38,000 years. That's being moderate. I'm trying to tell you that the Sphinx is over 200,000 years old because of the water erosion and the massive, gigantic, polygamo, megalithic stones that are around it. We know this to be true. Now, how did we lose this information? Is because now we understand how the Ptolemy, Soter, Serapi, September, Mary, Amen, and Eratosthenes in 754 AUC, Ab Urbe Cotita, which means upon the founding of the city of Rome, they used the technique again. The Europeans used the technique in which the Shemsu Sets had already used upon the Shemsu Rus 100,000 years earlier. This isn't some idea that they just came up with. They just stole something from us that we used to do to each other to imprison each other, because some years, sometimes as above, so below, Uncle Set goes into his thing where he don't want to comply, but he has to comply to the laws of Ma'at. So what he does is he steals aspects of time, such as they stole aspects of time today. They stole our solar signal lunar aspect and gave us a lunar cycle calendar, a 30-day calendar. And it's only an agricultural calendar that can feed you. And then they kill you, they kill your children, they keep you from speaking, reading your language, and so on and so forth. So they have a picture. I'm trying to find a picture I wanted to show you of this sixth dynasty, so-called sixth dynasty relief that the scholars in Kemet, the committee of scholars keep throwing this picture up at me. It shows Akhet as the first Netcha, then it shows Shemu as the second, and it shows Pert as the third. Oh, here's proof. This is proof that Akhet is the first month. Where they just have not the brain quality to understand that this is the same thing that Ptolemy did to us now. He learned from what Set did back then. It's nothing but a battle of the Shemsu over the Shemsu Sets. And the only way that the Shemsu Sets can conquer us is by controlling time. And this is what they're doing today. They're controlling our time through this Gregorian chronological timeline, or any calendar that has 30 days in a month. Because if it's 30 days in a month, that means there's 3 weeks in a month. That means there's 10 days in each week. And it's based upon the cycles of the moon. So any calendar that has 30 days is based upon the cycles of the moon, because it takes the moon 29.5 days to wax and wane. And it was during this time, and that time, that again, they stole the star of your birth and the star of your transition, and they stole your time of your zodiac sign, or your sign of your birth, not to use the word zodiac. And so at this time, I would like to present to everybody, without further ado, I hope I answered all your questions right there, people. President Brown.
Well, I guess we can move on. There's so many other questions that I want.
I know. Oh, I want to introduce the world right now to my Siva Ramutep.
Well, no, let's do that, because we're gonna have other times. So I'm gonna write.
Yes.
I would like to say something briefly, if I may.
Yeah, sure, absolutely, Queen Mother Goddess.
Dua. So looking here, I am sharing. I am in another manner today, and I am managing this broadcast. I have been reviewing the comments and This comment is something that I want to address because it is a portion of what I do in Tesha Para. We are all three of us global distributors, so you can purchase your calendar from any one of us. What I really wanted to target is from this comment from Pan African Designs and Apparel on YouTube. Not fully understanding what my Siba Patah Seeker Asar is saying, because he uses Meta Nature very fast. Hopefully he or someone can simplify, translate what Patah is saying. So I am one of those someones. Web is one of those someones. And I actually have, and I don't like to be on screen by myself. I actually have a platform that I started, and Siba Patah Seeker Asar and Siba Ramotep Queb, we all manage those platforms. So we have the Precious Treasure Immortality series, and it explains the calendar, and it explains at a slower pace in details the presentation that Siba Patah Seeker Asar is bringing to you today. I also have another platform that's called Take the Gregorian Calendar Down from Your Wall. And it is where I go live like a few days before the monthly class, and I get feedback from people before the class. And then I put all of that content and feedback together and present it in a broadcast, a monthly broadcast just for the calendar. Also, I'm not a salesperson. I'm just putting this out here. So all of that content is free to you, as well as what's being presented today. Now, Siba Patah Seeker Asar himself presents the information at a slower pace. In his Zoom meetings, he has twice a week on what you would call Tuesday and what you would call Friday. So if you're interested in any of those options, contact Siba Patah Seeker Asar or myself or Siba Ramotef Queb, and we'll be more than excited, more than happy to assist you with the knowledge at another pace. Dua.
Now, let me say to to Brother Ramotef, Ramotef, I can't wait for you to do my chart. I'm very anxious, but I'm going to ask you if you'll hold on maybe for another 5 minutes or so, because I don't know the chart. I want to know what the chart is, but I want to try to, so that members of my family can kind of get a better understanding of this history that we're bringing to them. And the way I'm going to do this is I went to the Million Man March. I think that was 1995. And there was probably 2 million black men that showed up at that march. I mean, it was phenomenal. It was like a miracle. I mean, I've never seen so much love and peace from coming from African people. I went all the way down to the Lincoln Monument, and the line was all the way back there. You know, I mean, just packed. And I was able to take my camera and walk from the back of that line all the way to the very front of the stage. And as I moved, the crowd just parted so I could come through without, any friction or anything. I mean, there was so much love and unity there that you could literally reach out and hold the air and feel this power and this unity. So when I came home that night, I cut on TV to see how they were giving an analysis of the Million Man March. And Tom Brokaw, who is, he's a newscaster, very well respected. When he ended his analysis, he said, "Oh, by the way, a new star was seen in the heavens tonight." He called it a new star. So I got right on the phone and called Dr. Charles Finch down at Morehouse College because I knew he was an astrologer, and I thought he would know something about what Tom Brokaw was saying. And Dr. Finch said, "Oh yeah, I know he's talking about Cephas, the Ethiopian star. And when Cephas becomes the brightest star in the heavens, it will mean that the black man has risen." So I asked him, I said, "Well, you know, that's happening now. Can you give me a time when we will have risen?" And he said, "Well, what's happening now is a protest." He said there'll be a lot of other things that will happen so that you know that the time is getting closer and closer. He said, but that star's Cephas. It signifies the Ethiopian star, the Ethiopian king, and the setting of the Ethiopian king. Now, this is very important for all Black folk to internalize, because with Cephas, there's a tremendous amount of energy all over the earth, which is like in the spring, the sap, which has been in the roots of the trees for winter, the sun hitting the earth at a certain degree, that sap begins to rise, and no man can stop it. And the trees will get nimble, they'll grow leaves, they'll flower. I mean, the earth will start making love everywhere with itself. The birds, the bees, everything begins to make love with itself. And if you're in balance with that, and you live in my art, you know, which is balanced, you don't have to do anything. I mean, these white folks can look up at the stars and they can regurgitate a little bit of what our ancient ancestors left for us, but they can only look at the stars. They can't they have no control over it. They can't hang them up or take them down or stop them or make them spin a different way. That's all out of man's hand. We're in the energy of divine creation, and we really need to drop our buckets where we are and do all that we can in a righteous way, and it will manifest, because it's not us who's bringing about the manifestation outside of we're creating through our mind a world that we want to see brought into being. And as long as it's righteousness and we do it ma'atli, it ain't us who's doing it. We're just in line with the universe. So I just wanted to throw that out there so you begin to feel a difference between religion and ancient African cosmology. But through religion, like Christianity and Islam, they say you have to come out of yourself and understand the world, become saved through Jesus or Muhammad, something outside of yourself. You can't come outside of yourself and save yourself. You can only, you're one with nature. You can't, if you come outside of yourself, you as dead as a doornail. All Jesus and Muhammad and all these people had to die for themselves. They was about trying to become one with nature, but you have to have that understanding in yourself, because that's where you and the creator are one. I just want to throw that out there. Now brother, I'm waiting. I'm waiting on you to do this shot, man. I ain't gonna hold you up.
Okay, pada tapu pamaron kostejeron kujasne buvnafike pande buharu ma'ati. Rising always in divine excellence with ma'at. It is my pleasure and honor, without further ado, to introduce to you in the world my great Siba, my young student who has now become the teacher, Ramutep Kweb, and he is about to reveal the virtual graphic design of the natal chart and birth chart of our great divine Siba, Clemson Brown. Dua, Ramotep Web.
Dua Siva.
Heck yeah, yeah.
Are you able to hear me?
Yeah.
Woo. All right. So, first of all, I want to dedicate this program to this Trinity right here.
Beautiful.
My father,
Oh, that's
my
beautiful.
mother, and myself. All right, everybody. Be prepared to have your mind blown. All right. I want to make a toast to everyone. All right, let's begin. On my slide, can you go to slide 46 for me, please, Hamet? All right,
Yes,
Siva
sir.
Clemson Brown. First of all, I'm honored and thankful and much gratitude for being on your platform, for allowing me to speak to the Ramesh, to the people about our cultural, cosmic,
Thank
collective
you.
consciousness, spirituality, and, just time and space. Yesterday night, or early this morning, I should say, a colleague of mine figured a lot of things out. Now, Siva Patel has explained to everyone listening, the listening audience, what it is that we discovered. Today, all you fortunate listeners listening today, this is the first step in our liberation, not just from the mind, but from your just in existence itself. What I'm about to show everyone is our galaxy, our black hole, or what we call in science dark body radiation from the terrestrial plane within the atomic domain. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to gravitate us all to the celestial firmament. And from the first slide, I would say uh, um, slide 47 for the next one. All right. If we're able to zoom in on it just a little bit, that will work out. But if not, that's okay. So what you're seeing here is the solar, sidereal, lunar calendar of today at this present moment in time and space. I'm going to break it down starting with the outer ring, the inner ring, and all the way to the center. Starting with the line that separates what we call the Asar and Set. So for the sake of the conversation, I'm going to use the Hellenistic terms, and I'm going to switch back and forth. So above in that line is where we are located in our quadrant of the Milky Way galaxy, was what you would call the cosmic rift. On December 21st, 2012, we end up changing into that rift. It's been 10 years since we've been in this rift. And the reason that I can prove it is by how we are set up for today. The second, well, all right, let me explain this part first. I apologize. The first ring, the outermost ring, is the precession. There's only 12 signs in this precession. When the sun travels through all these signs, it comes out to 26,000 years. I'm also going to bring about to let people know that Aries is definitely not the first house. So starting from the outer ring, we're in that cusp between Ma'at Asar and Set, Aquarius and Pisces. Going down in the second ring is the movement or tracking of our sun Ra moving through each and every sign of the zodiac, henceforth what folks would know today as astrology. Today, currently, the sun is in what we call Ast, or what you would call Virgo. And how we know this is by tracking time. Because as Siba has explained earlier, there's 24 hours and 35 minutes in every day. This calendar is absolutely correct when coming to that phenomenon or that equation of 24 hours and 35 minutes. So in the next ring in, you'll see orange. That orange represents the seasons that we are in on the northern southern hemisphere. So I'm not going to go date wise just yet because I'm still overwhelmed with excitement of what I'm showing you all today. But today we will be considered into the fall, or what you will know as the fall. The way I was tracking this is understanding the helical horizon of all seasons. So when I go to the next another slide, I'll be able to explain that further. So we're in a certain quadrant of fall, of what we consider fall. If you go in another ring, you'll see blue. That is the season of third month of the season of Shimu, as we have stated in our Hesi. Our Hesi is that frequency that gives you that first frequency, specifically Ra Never Teshira. From there, you go down one more ring, and those rings right there are the 10 months in the year that is on our solar civil lunar calendar, or we call the Shabitam Twaharu Pama'at. From there, we are also in the day of Quepsina. So going back earlier, if you watch this video later on, you're going to see that we're going to all pronounce our Hesi. And then today, what you see before you is what we speak of. In order to know this is all correct, what I did is that knowing the precession, knowing the movement of the sun, or basically just basically knowing the three movements of all that we know of. In this diagram is evident proof of how we are within this terrestrial plane on this atomic domain. And then for you, Siva Clemson, before we go any farther and go into the chart, I'm going to just give you a rough, basic reading because I don't want to go too deep within you for the simple fact of that I'm overwhelmed with what's going on. If you can, Hamek, can you go to slide 49, please? And also, Siva Clemson, do you have any questions before we go into the houses?
No.
No. All right. I appreciate you. All right. So now, what I'm about to discuss with everyone is knowing the housing system. This goes with the seasons that we know of, our four seasons. Within those four seasons, when we go towards the west, in a sense, or enter the west, there's certain phenomenons that happen, and that happening of seeing the cosmic belt or umbilical cord that we call Nut, or what we would call the Milky Way band, Orion's finger, etc. When deciphering all this, going to the far left of the legend, you'll see Set and Ma'api Asar, the blue and the silver. In between them in that line is the spring equinox. And only to find out what the spring equinox is, you will have to know what constellations are the helical horizon for those particular areas. So going back into the diagram, we're going to go back to that spring point. And that's where we're located again in our Milky Way galaxy, where we're within the cusp. And that indicating mark, that is how you would see the helical horizon. Now, if we were to rotate it more and put it to our present moment in time and space, we could do that. But however, we're not going to do that today. Above where is it? We can go straight up to the top left corner. I want folks to notice that particular area. You'll see Ptah twice. You'll see Shu and Tefnu twice. You'll see Kepra twice. Sekhmet twice. As twice. Ma'at twice. Serket twice. Neat twice. Amut twice. Asar twice. Set twice. Amen twice. So to pinpoint this out, when people say that the first house in astrology is Aries, and we correlate Aries to Amen, I'm sorry to tell you, but no, that is not correct. We are literally in the first, how you say, beginnings, or how do you say the beginnings began, in a sense. And this quadrant that we're in is giving proof that Aries is not the first house, and PSR, or I'm sorry, Aquarius is the first house and not Amen or Aries. And when you do the numbers and you put the mathematical equation of our mother equation, which is 8,766 hours, which is a sidereal year. Everything that I've tracked, everything that I've seen or that you're seeing is all being tracked by the star Suptit, what we call Sirius A and Sirius B, along with Orion. Um, Before I go any further, do you have any questions what you're seeing?
No, I'm good.
Okay. So also, just so people have a even more breakdown of this legend, when you see the meta nature symbol Suptit, that is where the helical horizon is today. A lot of folks are not aware of this, but when doing this type of charting, what I'm about to present to you is how everything moves within our galaxy. So starting with the Kepra, top left, and the second ring, today over in Kemet, the sun rises in Kepra. So on July 25th, on the Gregorian calendar, the constellation of what you would call Cancer, we call Kepra, the sun is like in its last 5 notches within that zodiac. When we shift into the age, and another better way to tracking the ages is knowing where the sun is located in its rotation during these ages. And at this specific diagram, you are able to trace any and all movements of the helical horizon through infinity to infinity. And the way we prove that is knowing the location of the sun. And how I did it, I was hoping I can put the schematics up to show you a different way of looking at how the sun rises within each and every sign of the zodiac. So if we were to go to slide 40.
It's all right, man.
I moved the picture a little bit too much. There we go. Okay, within this diagram, right, I have the Seaver brothers, Clemson Browns, helical horizon in his area. So what I do is I give people their true placement and their moment of time and space when they came into existence through the womb of their Hamet. And the Seaver brothers helical horizon, and I apologize, I forgot the location where you were that was given to chart where you were at of your time of birth. Give me one.
South Carolina.
I'm sorry.
South Carolina.
Okay, South Carolina. All right, so this is the helical horizon within your birth. The first picture. Did I mess up? Yep, I did. The first picture on the left is your birth date or your birth time in a sense. In 1939, if you look carefully, the sun is in the middle of Cancer almost. I know it's hard to look at this in a diagram, but we'll definitely have it in a PowerPoint for people to look at. Um, Basically, when Siba was explaining on the Hinoku Rising, how we track is that how I've been tracking it for the past 3 years is literally looking for that star to pop up the moment it crosses the plane, or what you would call the horizon. Usually it's about 15 minutes, 7 minutes beforehand. So in 1939, on August the 1st, is the Hinoku Rising out there in South Carolina.
No, the 25th.
The
The day
25th?
first is the 25th.
Yeah, I understand. Okay, I apologize. So there's there's a Hinoku Rising that appears not just in Kemet. It also appears around our around Set. So in order for me to find a person's birth star, I have to know when your helical horizon is in the place of your birth. When I find out what the helical horizon is, to take a present moment in time and space, which is in 1939, and to bring it back to our present moment in time and space, I put an example that from 1939 to 2020 on over in South Carolina, your helical rising is still on that day. So, and I'll make sure I put the time in so people can get a little clear understanding. So, back in 1939, on August the 1st in South Carolina, the star Septet rose at 6:22 and 48 seconds a.m. over where you were born at. Now, the next slide that's in there, it shows it on August the 1st, 2020, 6:20.8 a.m. is what it will rise today. And then I went ahead and went to 2 years more, and it still rises at 6:20.08 over where you were born at. So, in all actuality, what I'm trying to get folks to understand is that within this calendar, there's two ways that I can track your birth. Right now, with our present moment in time and space, the Hinoku Horizon is on July 25th on the Gregorian calendar, but we know it as the first day of the first month of Tahuti, the first day of Ra, the first day of the first month of the first season of Shimu. But now we are in year number 10. So for now until a couple more 100 years or so, or whilst we're moving within the age, the Hinoku Horizon in Kemet will be on July 25th. Now, as after a couple hundred more years, the whole paradigm shifts again. And what I mean by the paradigm shift again is that the Hinoku Horizon basically shifts to another date. And I did have the schematics that I took a picture of on when that occurred, but I seen that I didn't put it in there. So I'm going to go ahead and go to the next slide, which is 42, so I can give folks a clear understanding of the Hinoku Horizon back at Giza in the year 610 BC. Um, yep, there we go. Is it? Yeah, 42. All right, so on the far left is the picture that I got that I took from calculating from 610 BCE or BC and tracking the star Septet from the Giza Plateau.
We're not seeing no
It's not up.
schematic.
Okay.
No. There it is. Okay.
So now from the Giza Plateau, I pretty much put it up there, and I was like basically playing around with numbers, things of that nature, trying to see how the sun moves through each and every sign of the zodiac, right? So this is the other part that I was bringing about when it comes to tracking the sun as it moves through the ages. So during this time in the year 610 BC. The sun was in Kepra, but it's at the how you say the cusp between Sekhmet and uh, and Kepra, or Leo and Cancer. So as we keep tracking and basically moving through time and space, the Heliacal horizon obviously changes. So you see the date that the Heliacal horizon was on July 11th during that time period. Now, in our time period, at this present moment in time and space, it's on July 25th. So when you're doing a mathematician trying to figure out math and things like that, I'm not trying to do that right now because I'm still overwhelmed of what's about to be unleashed. On the next diagram that I have with that one, I was playing around with the spring equinox in a sense, and showing that how it's located once we got to 2012, March 21st, 2012. As you can see within that diagram, um, when it's an hour before the sun rises, and when you see that, you see that the rings itself are literally below the horizon. To the left on that picture that Siva Patah has showed is how the age of Aquarius is when we basically entered into in that sense. Now the next slide is when I put spring itself, where it shows that none of the rings are in and well, I mean the rings of Pisces is definitely below the horizon, definitely below. And the reason why I know that is because I made sure that I went and looked out for myself, and I'm located out here in Pennsylvania. Um, from there, you can see the constellation of Aquarius above the horizon during the spring equinox. And then when we go back to slide 451, no, yeah, slide 51, you're going to see that certain constellations mark or herald the equinox. So for breakdown again for the legend, you have the outer ring, which is the precession. You have the second ring, which is the tracking of the sun or the solar aspect of the calendar. Within that is the seasons, which is the lunar cycle calendar. So there's a line that crosses between each and every one, but it's on a 30-degree angle or a 90-degree angle. So to match things up from our perspective of the northern southern hemisphere, you'll have to find those are you able, can you still hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Um, give me 1 second. I apologize. So looking at the third ring, you'll see our seasons, right? You have yellow, orange, blue, green. Those are our four seasons: spring, summer,
Right.
fall, winter.
Mm-hmm.
If you trace the lines that go that 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 transitions to each season, you're going to see those constellations within those seasons. So for instance, the Heliacal horizon for summer is Ptah or Taurus. The Heliacal horizon for uh, fall is Sekhmet. The Heliacal horizon for excuse me for winter is what we call the 13th sign and Serket, which is Scorpio and Ophiuchus. Then you have the what is that? Spring equinox, which you will see Ma'at PSR. In this diagram, I'll have to shift everything to how it's supposed to be, But the main reason that I want to show people for this specific diagram is to see the lineup of how all the signs are lined up together while we're in this particular moment in time and space. Now, if we go to slide 50, I'm going to begin with Sheba Clemson Brown's star date. So on this calendar, I tell people there's two ways to find your star within this calendar. Let's see. I don't know if I can see it.
I
Right,
can
so
see.
bam. So I put CB for you, and I also put it up here. Let me see. Boom. Also right here.
Yeah.
These are the two dates that I can give you when it comes to your star date. So when I've been telling folks is that you give me the basic information of, your date of birth, your time of birth, location of birth. I find out what it is by using computer wise in a sense, but I also know how to track everything on the thing matter because I did it for 3 years straight. Hence why I got a lot of bags and stuff under my eyes. But um, as you can see, I have you marked down on the 32nd day of the year. So at this present moment in time and space, right, with us having a heliacal horizon in July 25th, your birthday will land on the 32nd day of the year. However, earlier when I showed you um, the diagram for your birthday, right, to take one thing and bring it from the past and bring it to the present and the future. In order to know where your heliacal horizon is, your heliacal horizon is on, we'll consider August the 1st. If I can, there you go, boom, right? Because we still have the Gregorian implemented into the calendar, but that's just the smart way so people can see the transition and the foolishness and the Hellenization of that calendar. If you notice, it's on the 8th day of the year, correct?
Yes.
So to take that present moment of 1939 and bring it to 2020 on a Gregorian style calendar, or what we would call year 10, I would subtract 8 days from your original birthday, and it will land on your true star date according to who you are, which is on the 25th day of the year. So if you were to start from August 1st as your heliacal horizon and count the days of your birthday, it will land on this day right here.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the two ways that I'm presenting when it comes to your star date. The third one is what you're going to see in the diagram on the slide of 50. Just give me 1 second so I can zoom in on this. So on the slide 50, I pinpointed your exact location and present moment in time and space in 1939 from your place of birth. While we're in this age of Pisces still, what I've done is basically start over from uh, year one, which was to 2012 in a sense. Take that number from how old you are from that day, which I think you were 73 at the time during that day, during the shift. So I will subtract 73 from, the age limit, which is 2,160 years, and basically pinpoint it within those 72 years. So within the diagram, the precession itself, you were born within that process of set, like most of us have, honestly, unless you're within 2012, unless you were born after 2012. But most of us were in set. So I have two notches indicating, basically 172 years left in a sense. From there, in Western astrology, they will have you as a Virgo, right? Well, in all actuality, you are what you would call your star or your sun. It was in Leo. So as you're going down the chart, I'm telling you any and all things of your birthday. So your start date will be as follows according to the calendar. This is the 32nd day of the year that you'll see.
Mm-hmm.
So pinpointing all this and putting it into a diagram that has your astrological configurations, in a sense, those energies, frequencies, first uh, specifically with, you line up on all that right there with your day being a messed up, which is also how you say on this calendar as well. Where you at? Come on, finger. There we go. Boom.
So the abbreviated start date will be the fourth day of Vesta.
Yep, fourth day of Amesta, correct.
What month? What month is that?
And the month of Jehuti, correct. The 32nd. But you want me to read the start date? Abbreviated start date. So your birthday would be 1/32 2000. Was it 2087? If I can go that far. So
which will be Vesta, the 32nd of June.
Correct. And that's your start date. So from that information, I took the charting system as most astrologers do today. I still went towards their system when it comes to the 12 house system. So most of the information that I'm going to say is what we're seeing today. Because when we go to, where's it at? I want to say it's 38. Yep. So going to slide 38. This is the picture of the constellations and their planetary bodies within your day of birth. The sun itself was in Leo, so was Venus, and you also had Neptune in there as well. The second slide is showing that you had Mercury and Pluto and Cancer, or we call Kepra. Another picture on this one, you have Uranus in Amen or Aries. You have Saturn and Set. You also, on the next slide on 39, I have it again, Saturn and Set. And then here's a kind of cooler thing, that your Jupiter was within the domain of Pisces, but it was also in the domains of Cetus. Cetus is a constellation that some of the planets basically go through. I'm still on the verge of still tracking it, but I've been posting it every year so far, ever since I've been finding it. But the sun, as well as planetary bodies, go through these certain different constellations. So when it comes to information on that constellation, I'm doing what others have done and just place it within Pisces, because there's not much information about that particular constellation. But I'm going to go ahead and tell like a little mini story that most of the folks all know should know at this present time. So they talk about Asar and how Asar got chopped up into 14 pieces, correct?
Yes.
All right. Ash and Nephet only found 13, correct?
Yes.
And they said that Asar's phallus got swallowed by a fish or alligator or whatnot, correct?
Yes.
So, and the cosmology of using the stars itself, how you say, I'll have found that 14th piece. That 14th piece would be that Cetus that you see. So if you take the cosmology of 13 pieces with 13 signs solarly, right? Within we'll say on the Gregorian calendar, I think it's March 27th, if I'm not mistaken. The sun moves within that constellation for up to 6 or 12 hours. I still haven't finally tracked it, but the sun does move within that sector of that constellation. And from knowing the story of Asar and how he got chopped up into 14 pieces and none of the pieces were found, I want people to realize that we call this the age of Pisces what?
Uncle Sam.
Uncle Set, correct. So, and Set is the one who did these atrocities to his brothers, correct?
Correct.
So, when coming to the cosmology, looking at it from astronomical view, that story is told within the constellations.
Okay.
And then going further, then the next part, you have your moon and Mars and what we call neat. And Siba, can you for the listening audience, can you give them a mini breakdown of who neat is?
Oh yes, neat is our ancient primordial temple discipline translation for the constellation of Sagittarius. But what we did, the Greeks took the neat, which is the Nubian goddess of war, with the arrows, and she had the short bow. So they mounted a man upon a horse called a centaur, and he shot an arrow. So it was very easy for us to return that constellation back to its original essence. And that constellation falls under the ancient goddess Mugadat, named Neat. And because she was the goddess of the double bow, of the short bow.
Dua, Siba, Dua, Dua, Dua. Now, the reason why I asked Siba to break that down in that way is because when it comes to this housing system that's in astrology, we have a 12 house system. We're born with the rising of Neat. So you have this, how you say, born as a warrior. You're a born warrior with the sun as, who you truly are, which is what we call Sekhmet or Herokuti or Leo. Um, Within this sector, tells anything and everything about your beginnings when it comes to the type of person that you will be, in a sense, becoming. And from being on this platform, I got people calling. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
All right. Neat being, as Steve was telling you, the warrior goddess. Within Neat, you had the sun, right? No, not the
Yeah.
sun. I apologize. You had Mars and the moon within that constellation. So when I looked into the whole charting system, everything about you is about our culture, our roots. You know, like you are a person of your roots when you came into being, in a sense, when you found that first aha moment, that first awakening within you. During that time, you gained a lot of skills and understood your purpose by showing proof by all the videos that you have on this platform, from talking with all these great master teachers and adepts throughout the years of you doing your interviewing.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to that part of you, of your purpose within this type of skill that you have acquired, that you tapped into, dealing with your second house, which would have been what we call Amut, or you call Capricorn. Within that constellation, that shows proof to your power or your skills or things that you possess that you can bring to the people. Because everything about you is about bringing something that folks cannot grasp or understand or would like to know of. And your platform is full of that. From all the years that you went through, during the time frame of where you were born in, I can understand there was a lot of hardship, especially when it comes to the family life and just the whole, you know, blessing that you got from the trials that you went through, in a sense. It shows proof to today. When you go to your next house, we're dealing with a whole bunch of things when it comes to dealing with philosophy, when it comes to dealing with back to our spiritual roots, our spiritual time, our spiritual beings. You're an individual who's been seeking that, as well as much of all of us who are listening today. We all have been
Mm-hmm.
trying to seek out that about ourselves. What makes us so great? What makes us who we are? Where do we come from? From those four primordial questions that we always ask: who am I? Where do I come?
Mm-hmm.
Why am I
Well,
here? And where am I going?
yes.
From there, you have expressed a lot of things within your goals. Your goals is to get to this point that we are at today. And I'm just so thankful that you allowing me on your platform to just speak to the Ramech, to speak to you, to just give you a slight little breakdown of who you are, where do you come from, why are you here, and where are you going.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then we get to that hidden factor about yourself. And as I explained earlier, just from just a basic reading, just reading that basic stuff, I can pinpoint almost exactly how you are. And then just being on this platform, I can't really want to talk too much on it personally for the simple fact of that everything about you to this present moment in time and space is within what I'm reading. So it's kind of hard to express more because I'm not trying to blow smoke on anybody, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
But to just show that you are one thing I can't leave off on, I will leave off on this one, and then I will like, if you have any questions, is that you are driven by your family. Your family is your drive. Your family is who gives you that strength when you don't want to do things. When you
Mm-hmm.
go turn around and you look at, I don't know if you have your wife, correct?
Yes.
When you turn around and you look at your wife is who you honor deep inside. She's that that goddess in a sense, and I don't want to use that term, but the Neter, you know,
Mm-hmm.
with you being a Neteru as well, and then the offsprings of your resurrections just everywhere, giving to Asar,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And it's just like just looking at all this stuff is just you're just an amazing individual. But one thing I can say is that never doubt yourself.
Thank you.
Never doubt
Thank
yourself.
you. Mm-hmm.
And I appreciate your time. Atun Rautep.
I appreciate you, my brother. Um, let me just express my thanks, and you you read me from my own perspective. Absolutely correct. Um, I'm driven by the search for knowledge of our people that I can give back to them, that I feel will help us grow and take our rightful place in the planet, on the planet, and in the universe. Because I really believe this, and it has manifested itself in my life and everywhere I've been, because doors open for me that I just couldn't. I just couldn't believe that they opened the way they opened. So I've enjoyed it. It has not been a struggle. It has been sheer delight. That's primary has been my life. I've had very few days of regret or defeat. And I've just enjoyed travel throughout Africa with the with my great seers, people like Dr. Clark and Dr. Ben and Asa Hilliard. I mean, all of them, especially Brother Ivan Van Sertima, and all these brothers. And it was just natural. Our relationship was just natural with all these brothers. I've had very few disagreements with them. Um, and they just always just open myself. You know, they've always accepted me as a brother. And I mean, it's just been a fantastic experience. I've had so many spiritual components that just like if I talk about them, you wouldn't believe that they happen, but they do, and you kind of capitalize that in this reading that you've done. So I really truly appreciate you, and you know, if I was to rate it, I said, brother, you excellent. I really, you know, it's been great just listening at you because you've been on the money, and I feel like at 81, I'm just beginning. I feel that, you know, I don't feel like I'm going nowhere no time soon.
Percent. Because
All right, I appreciate you, and thank you, brother Patah and sister my aunt. You wonderful. You really. I have to tell brother King's son, brother Darrell, that you feel in 100%.
and that's that absolute accountability and star validation, and it's all thanks to.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, this conversation and moving forward, how you say we won?
Oh, we won and we are winning and we're going to continue to win. You know,
Because the one word that I hold true to my heart from John Henry Clark, he said it's one that's always out there, always out there. But he said at the video lecture that I watched on your platform, he said every single thing that touches your life, every social thing, every political thing, every religious thing, must be converted into an instrument of your liberation, or you must throw it away to the ash cans of history.
yes, that is correct.
And that touched me so deep that my whole purpose was to know time. And I found time through a great Siba who's taught me for the past 4 years to figure this equation that he's been presenting for a long time. And it's like to be so absolute, it's mind blowing, but at the same time, it's very uplifting. Because as a people, we've been suffering for so long, and now that time is over. Just knowing who you are, where do you come from, why are you here, and where are you going? Ask yourself these questions on a daily basis, if you can, and just continue to search and progress within your life. Because as Sheba would say at the end of his dissertations from us, paternal father Asar Unefa Kenti Amenti, within the whole of the universe, nothing is ever added and nothing is ever lost. Dua.
Thank you. Thank you. Sister, my aunt, I know you closes us out with the information we need to get the calendars and to do the classes. So would you do that?
Yes, Minister Clemson Brown, dua. So I've again been in the comment section, and there's a question of how to purchase the ancient Kemetic Rasurian calendar. This is the Renpet year number 10. We have the Crumb TV edition for the calendar year Gregorian 2020 through 2021. With your calendar, you will receive a free PDF of the Cosmic Egg, the Primeval Germ, A Journey of 59 plus 21 Zeros by Richard Bruce Wallace. You will also receive a audio MP3 to complement the use of your calendar, and that is free as well. Each calendar is $25. It will be autographed, and you can purchase your calendar at www.patahoriginals.com, or you can use the PayPal. And we also have an Etsy shop, Time and Immortality, and we also accept Cash App. There were also questions about Siba Ramutef Queb reading the Kemetic birth charts and readings, and you can contact him on Facebook. And this is his Facebook information here, as well as mine and Siba Patah Seeker Asar. And we also have the Nagaship Association Telecommunications and Multimedia business page on Facebook. And we also have this same page on YouTube. So again, we are here as Sebas and Sebats students of Tesha Kara, Holy House of Ra, and our Siba Patah Seeker Sar is the royal scribe, master craftsman, and keeper of Tep, time. Dua, dua, woo.
Well, I guess it's time to say good day, and I mean a good day, a good night, a good morning,
And don't forget,
a good tomorrow. Yes, Brother Patah.
yes, don't forget we dedicated this broadcast to your grandson, Asar White. And I would like to say, in the words of our paternal father, Asar Unefa Kentiamenti, which means Asar. Unefa means the divine being. Unefa Kentiamenti, Kenti means who dwells in the domain of Amenti, which is in the west. Asar Unefa Kentiamenti, he says in his own words that within the whole of the universe, nothing is ever added and nothing is ever lost. This is the transatlantic transatlantic broadcasting, and with Tapvideo, this is Patah Seeker Asar along with Tefnut, Asma Tefnut, and Raul Tef Queb saying Atunra Pearl Tef to you, Siba.
I can't let you go yet.
Okay.
You know, we mentioned Asar, and he was cut up into 14 pieces, but we're going to have to tell that Aset, Asar, and Osiris, so that my grandson won't get the feeling that he's going to be cut up in the 14 pieces and left that way. When he understands really who Asar is and how Asar took vengeance, you know, and the resurrection aspect of Asar. So tell us the story so he'll really get a better feel of his journey.
Yes. So the story starts off after Newton Seb had 5 children. And of course, Heru he was never incorporated in fire, earth, air, water, or in flesh and blood. Heru represents the head of Horus and Set, which represents dualism, universal dualism, or day and night. Heru makes the earth spin, metaphorically. And so Asar became the ruler of the domain of the planet of Earth. And Asar went around the world after he learned from Jehuti. He was taught personally by Jehuti. He was instructed in all the ancient levels of ascertainment and enlightenment and consciousness through Jehuti, Lord Jehuti. And so it was his mission to go around the world to bring cosmic awareness, universal enlightenment, and cosmic awareness, spiritual consciousness, and universal enlightenment throughout the whole world. And he did this. He did this with like 100 soldiers, 500 musicians. He brought architectures, agriculturists, people who plant the land. He brought every type of study with him. And he had musicians playing. He's moving around the planet. He brought the Uncle Wat, Uncle Tan, Orubador. He's over in South America. This is during after Pangea when the continents begin to separate. And he's bringing universal enlightenment in the doctrines of the Nagas, or the Shemtarus, and the Nesabitis to the whole planet. North, South Pole, he's traveling the whole, circumventing the whole planet. And when he comes back,
Uncle Set gives a party for him. You know, I'm celebrating my brother. Yeah, he's coming back, and he made a coffin for him because that was what every Tamarian or melanated person was always living for the afterlife, to make sure your heart was pure and that you could pass through the 42 declarations of innocence and the seven morals of Ma'at, so you can be judged in the halls of double right and double truth for the soul's purged of all sins. When you see the faces of all the dead to do's and pronounce who submit the fair, I am pure, I am pure, I come in peace, I come in peace. So Uncle Set presented him with a coffin or a sarcophagus that was made out of lapis lazuli and quartz and all sorts of precious stones. It was a beautiful, and so he said, well, whoever could fit into this coffin or sarcophagus, they can have it. You know, this is where they got the Cinderella story. You know, everybody's jumping in, somebody's too fat, too skinny, it just ain't gonna fit. And so everybody in the whole banquet got in it, but no one fitted it. So came down to Asar, and Asar, you know, he wasn't, his mind was beyond that and everything, so he wasn't getting in the coffin or the sarcophagus. But for some reason, Uncle Seth said something which for the life of me, I cannot remember what enticed Asar to get inside that coffin. But when he got into it, that's when his 72 conspirators jumped on top of the lid, nailed it down. There was a big battle. You know, we're gonna try to make a big epic movie production with Denzel Washington. I'm in Rob production with Lindsay, Wesley Snipes, and all the great female actors and everything, like a Wakanda movie. We get Tyler Perry to hook this up maybe after the um the COVID crisis passes by. But anyway, so I saw they push him over. They had a big martial art fight, Egyptian martial art. They get the powers. Uncle Set showing out powers. They get the coffin over the wall into the river, and he drowns his brother. So when he drowns his brother, you know, the coffin floated up the Nile, up to the delta, not down the Nile actually, because the can't water does not flow uphill because of gravity. We know the globe is upside down. And so it landed against the sycamore tree, and the sycamore tree grew over it. And so at this time, the the, um, the governor of that land, he chopped down the tree and used it as a pillow for his temple. And As and Nebhet, if you read the doctrines of the Lamentations of As and Nebhet, when they turn into doves and swallows, and they fly around searching for their lost brother, and they find it. She finds his body has been used, his coffin has been used inside of the trunk of a tree, a sycamore tree, to build a temple. And so that she went in and she disguised herself as a nursemaid, was suckling the baby with her thumb, and she finally was able to release his body from the sycamore tree and brought it back home. And at that time, Uncle Set was out hunting, and he found the sarcophagus again. He took the body, opened it up, and took the body and chopped it into 14 pieces. These 14 pieces comes to be known as 14 gnomes within the cataracts of the Nile River, or the Hapi River. And at this time is when Assad, Asar, Austin and Nebhet went around to find the 14 pieces, which was scattered all through Upper and Lower Kemet, from the Sudan to the Delta. And they found every piece but one, which was the phallus. And she performed her magic, her Heka'u. She performed the Usamedu Nefe Heka'u, divine words of power. And she constructed a phallus in which they engaged and gave birth to Heru. This is part of that Immaculate Conception that you read about so much in this fraudulent historical information. And at that time is when Heru Asa became Asa Unefa Kenti Amenti, who became the Lord of eternity, in which all who pass upon this plane must eventually pass through him and have their heart weighed against the feather in the halls of double right and double truth. And he becomes what is first known as the Savior, or the Soter, as you would read about in as a theologian, you would know the Soter, meaning Latin for Savior, in which every religion or every spirituality of our cultural spirituality and copy from this main being. And the story goes on and on and on. But that's just a little brief intro into that for your grandson, Asar.
Thank you. Okay, to all of my brothers and sisters, I am just pleased for another great show. Can't thank everybody enough. Looking forward to seeing you all very soon on the same platform. Peace and blessings to everyone. Thank you again.
Atumra Hotel.
Sister Ma'at, let me see. Where is supposed to be around here someplace. I'm looking for the end of the program button. I don't know why I don't see it. And you